Hello, Liz, and welcome to the Quantum Health Connection podcast. Vanessa and I are ecstatic to have you here today, all the way from the UK. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited to chat with you and share with your lovely audience.
Yeah. I had the pleasure of taking Liz Norman's astrology for homeopath course. And wow, Liz, I just have to say, it's an incredible course. It's an incredible gift. And anybody who's a homeopath who has any little tiny bit of interest in astrology should absolutely take it because not only do you learn how to support your clients, but you learn a great deal about yourself, which is very cool too. And I found astrology so interesting, so validating. I've always loved astrology and I've always had like an interesting interest in astronomy as well. In fact, when you have to go to college and you have to take like the boring classes that they make you take, and you're like, oh, what am I going to take? And I'm like, oh, astronomy. Okay, that's kind of fun. Like that was interesting to me. So yeah, so I just always had a love for it in a smaller way, but you've amplified that by taking your course. So thank you for that, and thank you for that gift that you're giving. And it's so eye-opening in so many ways in prescribing and things like that. Just alone to learn about even just one thing, like if I took away just like the modalities and how that works for prescribing for the potencies and the frequency, that alone is like gold. Like so there's so much good nuggets that people could learn. So anyway, I just want to thank you for that.
Yeah. No, it was my pleasure to have you on the course. And, it's to me, everything that anchors what I do is about being practical and useful. So, and I love that my two passions in life are astrology and homeopathy, and they share so much commonality of language, and you can use it practically. And I love that. It's not just airy fairy fluffy, it's useful and practical in your day-to-day life as a homeopath and as a person to understand yourself better. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, so you trained with some of the greats. So tell us just from all of your experience and everything you've absorbed, how do you define astrology for somebody who's completely new to it?
Yeah, sure. Okay. So yeah, really great that Vanessa brought in astronomy, because actually the two are inextricably linked. Astronomy is the scientific, mathematically precise, accurate mapping of where the planets are. But then what we take with astrology is, what do those energies mean? How do they translate into how those planetary movements, which are anchored in science and maths, how do they affect us here on Earth? And we have to remember that, astrology is thousands of years old, and it was only really with reductionist science that the two separated. Okay. Until then, astronomy and astrology were taught together. And then astrology was sidelined. So for me, it links us to our experience on Earth to that movement of the planets. How does it affect us? As above, so below. And it's deeply anchored in tracking, what do the different cycles of those planets, how do their energies play out on Earth? So it's thousands of years of observing how that plays out for us. So it's linking us to the energy of the universe. That's what astrology does, deeply with those cycles of nature, and it's grounding. So that's what astrology is, deeply linked to astronomy.
Yeah, so cool. In the course, something else that I'll never forget that wasn't from you actually was when one of the other participants, one of the other students said, astrologers were the first medical doctors. And I was like, I'm gonna
Yeah,
remember that forever that somebody said that because I was like, wow, like because you do medical astrology, right? And it's like
yeah.
we have no I would never have thought of that, like, or real, most people don't have a realization that these things actually affect us, right? And these like and bigger energies outside of us are actually affecting us on a day in and day out. And when you say something like that who's to somebody who's not in astrology, they're like, huh, what? Like, I don't get it. Like, where does that even come from? And then to learn that there's certain medical things that link to different, systems and all that, it's just so interesting. So yeah,
I
just
mean, ultimately, it is at its core so holistic, just the
yeah.
same as homeopathy, and it was taught, medicine was taught alongside theology and astrology and astronomy. It was all taught together because there was an understanding that we are energy vibrational beings connected to the universal whole. And is that not the key principle of the vital force, is that we're working on the energy of the body? And so to me, one of the big eye-openers learning astrology from already being a homeopath was, this is an energy map. Understanding astrology is like being able to read a sheet of music of an energy that underpins who we are, how we tick mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, medical astrology. And it's extraordinary, the depth of how it fits with holistic medicine.
Oh, yeah. When you're saying that energy map, you're really referring to the natal chart. So people may
Yes.
not understand what a natal chart is. So maybe we should just kind of go to
Okay.
that, like that
Very
energy
good.
map, that natal chart. What is that? Because another thing you said that was so eye-opening to me is like, this is constitutional. Like certain things in here would actually be quite constitutional just based on your natal chart, like for that person. And I think that's very eye-opening too. So yeah, why don't you tell people
Yeah.
what a
Okay.
natal chart
So,
is?
yeah, we know that the planets each carry electromagnetic forces, and they are dancing. If you looked up and you saw the planets go around the sun, some of them are going really slowly. Some of them take hundreds of years to go around the sun. Others, like the moon, which goes around the earth, goes around every month. So we've got different speeds of those planets. So imagine all those different vibrations coming together in an intricate cosmic dance, an energy dance, and they're resonating. And sometimes that's harmonic, and sometimes it is in dis-ease. It's not, it's a bit jarring. And so we're capturing in that ongoing dance the moment that you are born, the exact time, the exact place. We snapshot that resonance of the universe. That is your birth chart. That is your energy map. And when we then see an energy captured in that, it would be an energy you carry your whole life. So if we were using homeopathic language, that's constitutional. That harmony or disharmony is something you carry and you can work on. That's where you're more likely to need remedies, where we have the energy that's a bit more tense. Whereas what we can then map as we learn deeper about astrology is the planets, of course, keep moving, don't they? They don't stop as soon as you're born. They carry on. And then we start learning we're deeply affected on an ongoing basis by where the planets are. And that would be energy for a certain amount of time. So that would be like a stronger dissimilar disease, a never been well since, we're working with a period of energy, and we want to change our remedies if the sky gods are talking to us.
Right. So these are these transits that come through and how they affect us basically based on our chart.
So the ongoing movement of planets also profoundly affects us. So as a practitioner, it's been really useful to understand, where is that energy coming from? Is it my birth chart, or is it where the planets are today?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, one thing that was interesting too, what you said in the course that really stuck with me as well was like sometimes when there is a transit coming through and it's these outer planets, it's just something that we kind of have to move through, and it might, it kind of feels like an aggravation in a way. And I was like, that's interesting too. And it's something that whenever I see a stuck client now, I tend to go look and see, is there a transit going on? Like, is there something going on in the planetary system that's making them be a little bit more stuck, and it's more harder to shift things. And that's such a helpful tool as well. There's just so many things. Like when people think about astrology, they're like, oh, I'm a Scorpio. Like I'm a Scorpio, you're a Virgo, Heather's a Gemini, right? It's like, okay, that's it, right? But dude, the depth of it is like.
So, the number one myth I would like to bust, please, if I may, ladies, is you are not your star sign. Okay. Right. So, and there's all sorts of memes going, Virgo needs arsenic. Well, what does that even mean? Are they trying to say that if your star sign, by which they mean your sun, is in Virgo? But in astrology, we're looking at all of the planets. We're looking at least the traditional 10 planets that are used in modern astrology. I add in many more in my own private practice. And A planet is a set of energy. Okay, so think of the planets. Each of the planets in the sky corresponds to a mental, emotional, and physical picture. And we can break down who we are into different parts of who our personality, if you like. And it's more than just our sun. We are not just our sun. We're where all of the planets are. And they express through the 12 zodiac signs. So just because your sun is in a sign, if you have a bunch of planets in another sign, you may resonate with that sign way more than your sun sign. So we immediately know, just like in astrology, in homeopathy, you wouldn't give the same remedy for a headache, would you? You'd go ask, tell me more about your headache. So we're going, okay, where are the other planets? What are their conversations? So I love that proper astrology is incredibly individualized. So you look at each planet, what are they all doing? Then you look at the totality. What does it mean to bring all of those planets together? So we are way more. If anyone's listening and they go, oh, I don't believe astrology because I'm nothing like a Leo. Well, that'll be because you have loads of other planets that are acting stronger than your Leo sun. And that will be a massive aha moment for a lot of people.
It was for me for sure, because I was like, oh, so I resonate with Scorpio in some ways, but I really resonate with more with my Libra ascending. But I also really resonate with Capricorn because my Mars is in Capricorn and Scorpio rules Mars. So when you said that, I was like, oh, that's what's going on here. Like I am such the mountain goat and driven and all of that. It's so in me. So it's like
it's
that,
incredibly, yeah.
yeah.
When we're as homeopaths, we are anchored in individuality, and
Yeah.
the chart is hugely individual. If we simply said we were our sun sign, we would be dividing the population into 12. That's not really very individual at all, is it? So we need to look and say, okay, how about we start really basic and we say the two luminaries, what lights up the sky, the sun and the moon, they can each be in one of 12 signs. So if we divided you just by your sun sign, we would have 12. But if I said you are half your sun and half your moon, suddenly I have 144 possibilities by looking at two. Now imagine I'm going to add in 10.
Even if you
That's
just add the ascendant in as well.
So but it's really anchored in that principle of we go individual. So, and I think you don't even need to know all of them. If people simply go away and I say, okay, go cast your chart. There's loads of free websites out there. Have a look at your sun and your moon. You'll get an aha moment. You'll be like, okay. And then if you're really, you want to go deeper, have a look at your sun, your moon, and what's called your rising or ascendant. So suddenly we have 3 that we're looking at, again, without looking at all the rest of the planets. But
so what does the rising mean? Sorry, I'm so sorry. What does the rising mean?
Okay, so again, the rising sign is also called the ascendant, and it means where was the sun rising on the horizon compared to the time that you were born. So you do have to have an accurate birth time to find your ascendant or rising sign. And that's because the birth chart, if you ever look at a birth chart, it's anchored in a horizontal line that goes across the middle of it. And that's sunrise and sunset. So we bring the wheel as we go through the 24-hour day, we bring the wheel around. So as the sun rises, it brings the wheel with it. So that's why we end up with the rising sign will change 1 degree every 4.5 to 5 minutes. That's very individual, which is why even twins will have different birth charts.
Yep. I have a friend who has twins and they have different rising signs, right? So,
Yeah, it's not always the case, but it's the little nuances like that we can go really deeply into the chart. So you are way, way more than your sun sign.
For those people who, I mean, they're probably rare, but some people don't have an exact birth time, depending on whatever, I don't know,
Mhm.
back in the day. How did they address that?
No, that's probably one of the most common questions I'm asked, Heather. And so lots of people don't have a birth time at all or an accurate one. So what we then know is that ascendant, which can change so quickly, we want to have a little bit of caveat in looking at that. So in most of the software programs, you can put in time unknown. And what that will do is it will hypothetically say that you were born at midday. And midday is halfway between 00 and 23:59. So, and then you don't get an ascendant. You need to be slightly careful if you do that. And the moon in your chart is either right at the beginning or end of a sign, because the moon in the sky will go through a zodiac sign in 2.5 days. So during one midnight to midnight, the moon can change sign. So that would be my caveat, that people would then need to go douse it or have it properly rectified. But if the
Or
moon's in the middle of the sign, I'm good. We still get 80-90% of the information that we're going to get in
yeah,
that.
or if they know I was born in the morning, I was born in the
Yeah,
evening, right? Like something like that could be very helpful, right? Just
yeah.
kind of somewhat, so at least the moon is clear.
Then we can anchor the moon, because
Yeah,
the ascendant will move through a whole zodiac sign in a 2-hour period.
right.
So again, a lot of people say to me, I've got a wriggle room of maybe 15-20 minutes either side. That's fine. That's absolutely fine.
Yeah, yeah. Very good. That's a good question. Oh my goodness, there's just so much. Yeah, and there also was the modalities, which were so interesting, and the elements. I don't know if you want to go into either
Mm,
one of those, but that was an
yeah,
interesting
yeah.
aspect. Either one, but that little chart in the bottom of, your natal chart, there's that little chart that kind of says like, oh, you have like some people have more water, or some people have more fire and more earth, and more air, and that was so interesting too. So if you want to go into
Okay.
that, yeah.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites actually. Now, not everybody listening will use the Mapamundi or Circle of Elements, okay? But if you do, it will marry exactly to astrology. Yeah, it literally, the meanings, the symbolism of them will marry exactly in astrology, just like the Circle of Four Elements. We use fire, earth, air, and water. And what we mean by that is we want to break down the chart and really understand its component parts. The planets, the planets in the sky that are in the middle of your birth chart, they are energy drivers. Yeah, they carry an archetypal energy. How that energy expresses the adjectives, the adverbs, is the sign it sits in. Okay, so the signs are the how. And those signs are broken down into 4 elements: fire, earth, air, and water. So we can then, rather than get fixated on Aries is this, Taurus is this, we do an overview and we say all of the fire signs carry passion, purpose, creativity, warmth, drive, just like we plot on that circle of elements. And so when you're looking at a chart, the first thing that we learn in the course, and again, if you're looking at your chart, you can stand back. There'll always be a table wherever you do the software that gives you a breakdown of the elements. And you can say, wow, I've got so much fire in my chart. And then we know that if you want to resonate in alignment with your energy, you need to bring fire in your life. The question I would be saying to a fire chart is, what you do, is it lighting you up? Because if it
Mhm.
isn't, you're going to burn out.
Yeah, yeah. What are the fire ones again? So you have Aries, remind me,
So
Aries.
Aries, Leo, and
No, thank
Sagittarius.
you.
Yeah, so every element has 3 zodiac signs. So we divide 12 into 4 elements and then 3 what we call modalities, the speed of the speed of it. But the elements marry exactly with astrology, with homeopathy. So I think anybody who is mapping cases, mapping remedies on that circle will immediately understand, when we're being homeopathic, if you have a lot of fire in your chart, if you're not marrying the way you live to honor that element, then there
Mm,
is a problem. There is dis-ease. We can also look at, where do you bring that in without even taking a remedy? Are you doing things that light you up? Are you doing physical exercise? It's a very dynamic element. Just say you have someone with lots of water. The water element, we know, is sensitive, empathetic, feeling, nurturing. The 3 water signs, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. But again, if you have a bunch of planets in the water signs, you're a watery person. Yeah, we're not even looking at one planet. We're just saying, is your chart mainly watery? Then what do I say to people? Boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. You are a sponge, and that will also go medically. So we can look at the element mix, and that fits exactly with our case taking.
What is the profile for the air signs?
Sorry?
The air signs?
Yeah, so we have the air element. For those that are less familiar, the air element is intellect. It's connecting through language and ideas. It's cooling. The air element balances fire. It's cooling, it's logical. And the 3 air signs are Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. And as we're doing them, then we balance water and earth. They're opposite each other. And the 3 earth signs, which are grounded, practical, structured, they are hard, they're rigid. Water is flowing and malleable. That's opposite. The 3 earth signs are Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. And we know that there's medicine. Yeah. Water needs earth. Fire needs air. Where is there an imbalance? Do we have too much fire? Do we need to rain the fire down? And that may not be your sun. It might just be the overall mix that we have in a chart.
Yeah. It's just so very interesting how all that interplays and how much information we can truly get from just looking at somebody's chart. It's really incredible.
Yeah. The one thing actually I would like to say with all of this is again, it's fascinating, but what people might be listening and going, that's great, Liv, but I don't know what to do. What's useful, what's practical? If I had to choose one planet I would like people to look at and understand is their moon. Yeah, because our moon is, by nature of the fact it moves through a zodiac sign every 2.5 days, it's the most individual planet. Yeah, it changes every 2.5 days. So within one lunar month, the moon's gone through every single zodiac sign. The archetype of the moon, I'm going to give you lots of moon words. The moon is how we nurture ourselves, protect ourselves. It's our emotional reaction. Now, how many cases do you see that are driven by an emotional imbalance underneath them?
Every single one.
Yeah. You need to know somebody's moon. You need to know your own moon, because your moon is how you react before you think. Your moon is what you do habitually, instinctively. So if you think about it, when a baby is born, by the time that baby's 1 month old, they will have experienced the moon in every single sign. By the time they're 1 year old and their son comes home, the moon's been round 12.5 times.
Wow.
So our moon is really linked to that kind of, I'm going to use the word mother very, very loosely and archetypally. It's our inner child. It's what we need to feel emotionally secure, stable. What do we need? And as adults, we need to support our moon sign. We need to understand it, because we do it without thinking. And so, anyone that's listening, okay, who's got kids, know your kids' moon signs. The moon is how they are going to react to what you do. I have 3 grown sons with 3 very separate moons. I'm me. It was a real eye-opener to meet them. How homeopathic is that? To meet them with what they needed once I understood their moon sign.
Wow, that's so you knew all this before you parented. That's pretty handy, huh?
No, I didn't actually.
Oh, okay.
I didn't, and that's it's my journey was, I did the whole corporate thing, before, and then I became I was really fascinated in astrology, but I never really studied it, didn't do anything. When I became a mom, that call for homeopathy, which is I have to do something better for my little kid, took me down that road, and astrology just got put on a back burner. And it was then, having been a practicing homeopath, having worked for Dynamis for 15 years, I think, before I started studying, was the calling was, you need to go study this formally, you need to go study it properly. So I didn't have that depth of understanding, but even now it's really helpful to know someone's moon sign, because you meet them where their moon is. You also nurture your own moon. You know, you find, what do I need? What do my lunar needs want? And that's a really good way of staying healthy.
That's so fascinating. But retrospectively, you probably had a lot of aha moments about your kids and the emotional dynamics between you and all three of them, right?
Yeah. And also it's really, really validating as a parent to help you look at your child as the separate being that they are. And really, what do I do to support the energy potential that they have? Because I strongly believe that children do choose their parents. You know, they are born and they choose their chart, and they choose the players that are going to represent in that. But I think it's really useful and empowering to know, okay, this is, you know, particularly when we have children. I do a lot of children's charts, and, you know, my biggest aha moment was a child who had so much water in their chart. This was a deeply spiritual child, deeply spiritual feeling, being open. And in medical astrology, all that water, they had a lot in their chart as well that left their immune system really open. They were picking up things left, right, and center. You know, their cell boundaries were open. Mum and dad, rigid, earth, structured, business like, and it was so interesting. It's almost like they were lessons for each other in that water and earth element. But the aha of the parents that their child wasn't weak, that their child wasn't, you know, their child was just different. And that then took them on a spiritual learning journey.
Oh, that's really powerful.
Is that very powerful for both of them.
So instead of focusing on being a double Gemini, you're saying, as far as like spiritual growth, it's better an emotional, right? All the emotional health, focusing on my moon in Sagittarius could be more powerful and helpful for me.
Okay, so you're saying, when you're saying you're a double Gemini, does that mean that your rising and your sun are Gemini and your moon is Sag? Okay, so what we want to do, if you're at the point where you can do all three, you want to start playing with, what does that mean? You know, so if 2 out of the 3, sun, moon, and rising, are in the same sign, that's stronger. I mean, that's just obvious maths, isn't it? We're going to divide the pie into 3. 2/3 of it does Gemini. So we really want to make sure that we're doing Gemini, making sure that we're curious, that we're talking, that we're learning. We're learning because it energizes the brain. Okay, the worst thing we can do for Gemini is get bored, you know, and Gemini is the sign of the twins. It's really good at multitasking. It's really good at juggling. So, big epiphany, I have a Gemini moon. It's perfectly normal to be reading 4 books at once, studying 3 courses at once, because Gemini, I like to think of Gemini as being the cross-pollinator of knowledge. You know, it sits in the symbolic wheel at the end of spring. And what happens at the end of spring? The bees fly from flower to flower, pollinating. And if they got stuck on a flower, we wouldn't pollinate, would we? So that's what Gemini is supposed to do. It's supposed to flit from one to another. It's not ADHD. It's not lack of concentration. It's doing what its soul is asking of it.
Yeah. Thank you.
So again, fascinating, we put a lot of planets and a lot of signs through conventional education, and you're going to get a label. And the chart says, no, you're just uniquely you. You're supposed to be like that. So in answer to yours, 2 of the 3 need you to be Gemini. Okay. If you're not being Gemini, you will be in dis-ease of what your chart wants. But that's interesting. Okay. Gemini is lots and lots of knowledge. Gemini is a bookcase full of books. My books are all over there, you know, and probably hasn't finished all of them. Guilty as charged.
Yeah,
you know, I got bored on chapter 9. I gave up on that one. I'll come back to it. But we're doing what Gemini wants, which is, wow, that's interesting. And we're bouncing, we're playing tennis. Yeah, Gemini needs to play mental tennis. Mm-hmm. But what Gemini can do is get stuck at that level of learning. Now, Sagittarius is the sign opposite Gemini. Mm-hmm. So if Gemini is learning, Sagittarius is wisdom and knowledge. Sagittarius is where we make sense of all of the stuff that we learned. So for your moon to feel happy, it's on a Sagittarian quest. That could be, if you Google it, travel. Don't box me in, can be very tubercular. But travel is not travel as in travel agent travel. It's because travel expands the mind. Travel broadens our horizons. And so you've got this marriage of Gemini and Sagittarius, and the golden thread is knowledge, the meaning and understanding. So your moon, to feel emotionally safe, you have to find meaning and understanding, and you do it by learning.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
So can you see how interesting? If anybody watches this, then simply take your sun and moon and know that you are half of each. And how could I make them work together? Because you are half of each. And actually, if we just drop in a wee bit of medical astrology, your sun is your vital force. And the moon, because if you think the moon goes around the earth, the moon is how the body and the cycles in the body distributes that energy. They both have to be happy. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So you can layer it with, I really don't like cookie cutter astrology that says, my sun is in this sign, my moon is in this sign. Now, if you do it through AI, that's what you're going to get. You need to then go, okay, how do I make them work together? Or if there is a conflict, how do I use that? How do I work with it?
Yeah. That's why AI could never replace people who are actually looking at things like this, right?
AI will cookie cutter this planet in this sign, this planet in that sign. It will not look for the cohesion.
Or the conversations that they're having with each other and this and that, right? And all that. So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so there you go, Heather. And thank you for sharing your chart.
Thank you for illuminating it for me.
Yes, that relates for Heather, I'm sure, in a lot of ways, because yeah, so it was good. I just loved it. Yeah, and I love what you said before, like piggybacking on before about how our children choose us. Like, I so strongly believe that. I so strongly believe that. And I find it interesting, like one of my kids has the same moon sign as me and the same ascending sign as me, which I think is so interesting. Like, why does that happen, right? Like, how is that possible? And just, I don't know. I did really resonate with that. And I think astrology for me has been super validating. It's like, oh, this makes sense. Like, this is why it's like that. Not everything needs to be fixed about a person. This is just what's going on with you, because this is just part of the energy that you are and when you were born, and that's it. And it just makes so much more sense.
Honestly, I have to say, having been in homeopathy for over 33 years, since I first came to it, the medicine in the self-acceptance that astrology has given me is profoundly healing in and of itself, because it's like, actually, does this need fixing? Right. I am not the same as the next person. I am going to face these challenges. They're part of who I am. And it's meant that I have less remedies, but when I do, they're much more profound because they're coming at a place of, okay, I really have hit a tension here. Whereas when we understand that we are perfect exactly as we are, it's the bits that we get stuck in that we need the remedies to help us, not for the day to day, you know, because we're all totally different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh God, I love it. I love that. And I feel that too. It is. It's so validating. It's so good for the self-discovery of yourself and like understanding yourself is like that was huge in your course. So I love that.
Yeah.
So people take Liz's course.
Yeah.
You will get a lot out of it.
You know, you don't just have to, you know, it like just, you can go learn. There's a lot of resources, but it's like, you know, so I was very, very blessed to work for Dynamis for 20 years. And one of the big things that Jeremy Sher absolutely hates is guessances, you know, where it's like arsenicum is somehow degraded to food poisoning, OCD, and perfectionism. And it's like, no, you know, to understand a remedy, you have to understand the generalities, you have to understand the affinities, you have to understand the dreams, the delusion, the whole thing. You have to think. And, you know, that's what I think. If you can work with astrology and get beneath the fluffy internet guessances, I'd almost rather say just look at your sun and moon properly,
Yeah.
rather than try and go too deep on the rest of the stuff. Do those really, really well, because they are the two key planets if you're going to start somewhere with your own chart and understand those. So, you know, I think if you don't know your moon sign, learn about that. I think most people, if they don't, they're going to have an aha moment with their moon. Feed your moon. Do things that keep your moon happy. That's going to really, really help. And, you know, the moon in astrology rules the ebb and flow of our emotions. And it changes sign every 2.5 days. And one of the things I love in this fast-paced world, you know, a world where everything is 100 miles an hour or not, astrology anchors us back to the cycles of nature. And the moon does that. So some people will be much more profoundly affected by the moon than others, but all of us would benefit from that reconnection to how do I feel based on where the moon is. You know, it's a good way to check in with yourself. Yes. And honestly, I say this to everybody, you will learn more about astrological signs by tracking the moon than any textbook. If you do that for 2 or 3 months, you will do a proving of every single zodiac sign. Just with it and go, actually, how do I feel? And then you can start overlaying the meanings of each of the sign and go, wow. And then what's very cool, 2-3 months down the line, you're one step ahead and you go, okay, I know when the moon is in Gemini, it's great for brainstorming with friends, like all that mental activity. When the moon is in Virgo, I'm going to spring clean the house and I'm going to do my accounts that I've been procrastinating doing.
Like you're harmonizing with the natural energies, right? You're harmonizing with the planetary energies, so that it'll help to foster whatever your behaviors are, that your choices. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, it's homeopathic, isn't it? Let's work with the energy of the sky. So, you know, everybody can do that. Everybody can, because a lot of people will go, oh, it's so much, there's 12 signs and there's this and I can't learn it. You can check in with yourself and say, how do I feel?
Yeah. And then look at what is the moon in.
Then start going, So I think that's a really, really cool way of empowering. We're starting to ebb and flow with the energy of the universe, and you'll feel more connected to it.
So this reminds me of Mercury retrograde, like so much like drama around that and maybe a lot of misconceptions, right? So how do you...
I was just going to talk about that. Yes. Okay. I love... okay. Again, we need to work with the energy. Okay. So if that's the energy in the sky, whatever the energy is, we need to dance with it. So for anybody that doesn't know, what actually is a retrograde planet? It doesn't go backwards, okay? The planets don't stop and start reversing. The reason we create the phenomenon of retrograde is because we are in the solar system, solar being sun, and the planets all go round the sun. But astrology is geocentric, it's based on the Earth. So we measure where the planets are relative to the Earth. Therefore, the sun, in astrology, the sun goes round the Earth, which of course it doesn't. So it means that sometimes planets relative to the sun are going slower than the Earth. That's what a retrograde means. It means relative to the sun, that planet is going slower. And different planets will retrograde for different times every year, but Mercury is the one that's most common. So it retrogrades for 3 weeks at a time, 3 times a year. So about nine out of every 52 weeks. And during that time, the qualities of Mercury are changed. So Mercury is the planet of learning, thinking, speaking, communicating. That's why we get the dreaded miscommunication myths, because communication is not 100 miles an hour forward, it's retrograde. So then we know during Mercury retrograde, the usual way that things communicate in our lives is not going to be usual. Yeah, so communication may be scrambled because it's not in its usual rhythm. And so we have travel plans can be disrupted. Communications, you send the text, they don't get it, or they get it a day later, or we literally get miscommunication. Somebody says something and the other person goes, what the, and we run the result of, or the risk of turning this into an escalation, because it's like misunderstanding upon misunderstanding. So we want to be smart. During a Mercury retrograde, that might happen. So 3 C's: clear, concise communication. Check, double check, triple check. If you've sent a message and you don't get a reply, assume that Mercury ate it. And very politely send it again. Okay? Don't get triggered. Be the big guy. Send it again. So I'm really sorry. I just want to check. If somebody replies to you and you go, well, that's not very nice, understand that they may not have heard you. So when everything you say during a Mercury retrograde, filter it through. This has the potential of being misunderstood. And if they come back, don't escalate it. Say, I'm really sorry. I think you misunderstood me. I really didn't mean that. So we can downscale it, okay? That's how we work with it. We can also say retrogrades have all words reflect, review, reassess, remember, reclaim. Now, if you're editing a book or doing your website or tweaking or redoing your slides, Vanessa will know this, I am a one for redoing my slides on my course. Mercury retrograde, fab time to do it. Go back in, cross T's, dot I's, because you'll see things you didn't see. Yeah. And if you've had a problem, it's a great time to go inwards and do that journaling, do that work, because you're revisiting thoughts that you had before. So now we can see it's really positive energy to work with, because we can press that pause button. We're not going ahead at 100 miles an hour. And interestingly, I've had many clients who have been in legal loggerheads who have actually resolved long-standing court battles during Mercury retrograde simply by saying, I'm sorry, could you just explain that a bit more? Because if people are trying to play spells with words, Mercury, it rats it out.
It what?
I don't know if it's an English, it's like it exposes it. Yeah, if somebody is trying to weave a spell with words,
That's so interesting.
In
Yes.
Mercury retrograde, you can keep just dropping in. I'm sorry, could you be a little clearer? Could you exact, because I'm worried I'm not understanding.
Mm.
Explain it a little more.
So
Brilliant.
it's an invitation to slow down and really be with whatever the information is it's transmitting. And
Yeah, to
Mhm.
slow down. And I love it because life is too fast. So slow
Mhm.
down during Mercury retrograde. So practical. If you, unless you are born with Mercury retrograde in your birth chart, which
Right.
obviously 9 out of every 52 weeks, somebody is born with Mercury retrograde. Unless you are one of those people, do not launch anything during a Mercury retrograde because the communication probably will go awry. Your Zoom meeting will crash. Just don't do it. But if you were born with Mercury retrograde, you love the retrograde energy.
Mm.
That's very, very cool. So you can, when you cast your birth chart, you will be able to see, because Mercury will have a little letter R next to it. And that means you were born when Mercury was retrograde. So for you, if that's one of you, launch. That's your
Yeah.
good time to launch.
Not me, but my kid, one of my sons has a Mercury retrograde. I love the
Yeah.
retrogrades. Yeah. So I was just checking. I'm always looking. Whenever I listen to you, Liz, I'm always like looking. Every time I studied with you, I was like, just look at my kid's chart, my chart, like really quickly, because it helps solidify it in my
But
brain.
no, that's also, that would be a very cool thing if that, I know it's a much deeper, but if you go ahead and you look at one of your kids' charts or your
Mhm.
partner's chart and they have a Mercury retrograde, you know that the way that they learn, think, speak, communicate
Mhm.
is different from the rest of us. It
Yes.
has this slower quality, but actually it's super clever. They will problem solve in a completely different way. It's actually a superpower. But
Hmm.
I do so many kiddos charts with
Hmm.
Mercury retrograde. And
Hmm.
it's like, actually, they're just not thinking like the rest of the kids at school. Now let's work with it. And yeah, we can look at remedies. We can, it depends how it manifests, but it's just a validation that,
Hmm.
okay, that particular part of our psyche works a bit differently. Now let's look at, what does that mean? How can we support it with remedies? So that's kind of how I use astrology and homeopathy together. I look at where the person is, and I look at, okay, where is the problem, or what is it, the presenting complaint? What in the chart am I looking at to give me more insights about that?
Right.
And then I look at that planet in a lot of depth and I go, oh, okay, now that's going to help me decide on whether it be potencies or repetitions or remedy families or rubrics. So
Hmm.
it's another layer of information and insight.
Yeah, absolutely.
And sometimes you don't even need a remedy. Sometimes you just need the aha moment,
Yeah, the insight, the knowledge, right?
the
Yeah, and that's
insight, just
yeah.
to go, oh, okay, I get that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And you
huge.
don't just use remedies. I mean, you use a lot of the Bach or Botch, I don't know how we're supposed to say, flower remedies and the tissue salts as well, right?
Yeah. So that in my own practice, that's what I do now. Is that I've kind of gone both sides of it. I do biochemical support with homeopathic cell salts, and I do emotional support with Bach Flower Essences. I use Bach Flowers because I'm in the UK. That's where Dr. Bach was. I literally don't live that far from the countryside where a lot of the essences were. So I feel
So beautiful.
very, very linked and connected with them. And the more I use them, the more profound I realize that they are actually. They are gentle and profound, and both have direct links to astrology. So for my practice, they work really, really well. But of course, I'm still anchored in the principles of homeopathy, and I
Mhm.
will give remedies, or I will give indicators for people to go work with their homeopath in terms of families or potencies or repetition, just so that we know we're in the right area, or rubrics,
Right.
to do
Right.
that. but yeah, that's how I work, and they link absolutely directly to astrology.
Yeah, no, I love that. You just made that little bonus course on flower essence. That was beautiful. And even I saw this in another book. Oh, it's called Vibrational Medicine, but it showed like where homeopathy lands, where tissue salts land, and where flower essences land. And they are like a higher vibration, and they
Yeah,
do work at a deeper level. And you had the same kind of illustration in your book, your little book that you have.
yeah.
And that it still blows my mind. Like, because I was like, I love that. And I use flower essences every day and I give them to
Yeah, I've
clients.
had
And I
some
think they're
real
just,
epiphanies. I've had some real epiphanies. I do medical astrology as well, and a lot of the people that are coming to me are they have a stack of obstacles to cure. That I'll have people coming to me, as we all do, with so many medications, a string of past things that they've got, and it's like, where do you even begin? And even with the chart, it's so complicated. And I actually started working with Bach Flowers, but partly because I'm so busy that I refer to homeopaths for ongoing support. I book 8 weeks in advance. I can't have ongoing
right.
homeopathic treatment. But you know what? It was born out of me managing my diary. I've had such breakthroughs because of the energy level that they work at. Because, when you sit and you look at that energy, and I've got a map in the book that goes in my course, and if you have nutrition and herbs at the bottom, which are crude, aren't they? They have the actual substance in them. And then the cell salts bridge between actual minerals and
Mhm.
supplements and homeopathy because they're potentized. So they'll sit, but they principally work at a biochemical level. They work on making the blood and the biochemical makeup of the body perfect. That's the principle behind them. Then you have homeopathy, which bridges everything. But then when we go to flower essences, we're pure vibration. We're here, we're above, we're up there. And I've had these amazing results because it seems that they've cut through all those obstacles. Because the obstacles
Mm.
on an energy level are, a lot of foodstuffs, a lot of that. And it's like, actually, the flower essences are able to cut through enough for us to get to a level to work.
Mm.
Um, I've been blown away. And I shared that with the students, absolutely blown away with the results that I'm getting by using Bach flowers. So it's really interesting. I've come full circle back to that's what I originally learned 26 years ago.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Yeah. I think they're working like on the subconscious brain, like, and they're switching things there. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's my thought process of how they're actually working or they're supporting it. And I think that they're just, everybody needs to know about them and use them on a regular basis. And I do think they're really, really helpful.
I mean, I think that they're also, once you start working with the moon and you really understand that your emotions, which is what the
Mhm.
flower essences do, they work on the emotions. Our emotions are going through a sign every 2.5 days. So
Yeah.
it's now become my sacred practice to check in with myself. How do I feel? What is my reaction to what is going on? Do I
Mm.
need to just tweak that? Do I need to balance it? I don't take them for days and days and days. I'm literally tweaking them during periods of stress.
Yeah.
And then it's really alleviating the physical health to allow the remedies to work on a different level. I mean, obviously, with the permission of my homeopath, a lot of people would not multi-prescribe like that. But I think, we are living in unprecedented astrological energy. Okay.
Mhm.
Whatever modality you are anywhere, everyone's going to agree we are being potentized fast.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's like, and the energy is moving really, really fast. And these poor little bodies of ours are trying to keep up. And I think if we can be light on our feet with that, and that to me is where there is a case for layer prescribing or weaving flower essences alongside constitutional remedies, for also having that base level of cell salts. because the human body is the vessel in which the energy is being upgraded right now. In fact, if anything, I would say I think everybody needs cell salts right now, because the vibration is going to a whole higher level. You know, we talked about elements. Well, once we get to July and August in 2026, every planet from Jupiter outwards and what we call the nodal axis, they are all in fire and air. They are yang dynamic signs. The energy level will get faster. Our central nervous systems will be ramped up. We need to support our bodies.
So we need to use our tissue salts to support that for sure.
I think so, because you know what, I'm going to misquote it and I apologize, but there is a quote in one of the books which says something like, new wine cannot be kept in old casks, you know, and I love that, you know, that the principle that the body is the vessel.
Yeah,
and
100%.
If we are upgrading, our bodies need to catch up with it.
Yeah, yeah. And they can really support the structure of the body, the mineral composition, right? Yeah, Heather and I work with cases. We layer in tissue salts and flower essences with constitutional care, and I see it work. I see it work more synergistically. I think it's a really beautiful way to, and they work at like different levels of the body. So I don't know. I think it works. I find it to be a beautiful synergistic way to support people, and they need more support, I think, than they did 300 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, for sure, we are, you know, and we are bombarded, aren't you? No, we are bombarded. Forget the astrology, you know, everywhere. You know, so we really need to match our prescribing with it. And you know, if even this much astrological knowledge can help somebody have more self-awareness of how that feeds into them, managing themselves, supporting themselves or their family, that's great. You know, you don't need lots of knowledge. Start little. Just start with small things like understand your sun and your moon. What does that mean on an energy level for you? That's a big step forward for most people.
Huge. Yeah, huge. Liz, this has been so amazing. First, anything else you want to leave our listeners with? Any practical tools, knowledge, anything else, closing thoughts you have? Anything we didn't get to touch on that you said we're like, I really want to mention this?
No, I mean, I think I'm good. Just start with really understanding your sun, your moon. If you're a parent, have a look at the moon sign of your kids. That's going to be a real aha to help you parent them. And I think that's enough. Begin your journey small. Start watching the moon. Start watching the ebb and flow. That's how your astrological journey begins.
Well said.
Well, and what are your offerings? Like after listening to Vanessa's experience with you in training, I was in awe of all the things that she's learned. So I'm hoping to do that later this year. So you have an offering for astrology and homeopathy, but you also address the flower essences and then the tissue salts. But I also booked with you for July. So if you guys want to see Liz, you better get on the stick because she's booked out for months. That's how good you are.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, I have my own busy practice, and I offer medical astrology readings. I offer traditional readings. I offer children's guidance readings. I usually book about 6 to 8 weeks in advance. So I thank you for your patience if someone's booking in. I currently have a bespoke course, which is astrology for homeopaths. It's like literally that niche of together. And I hope, Vanessa, you'll agree, it is anchored in how do we make this practical? Yeah, it's like every week, it's like, and how does this get put into practice? How do we use this? So it's different from other courses out there. Now, the course until now had been purely a 12-week live course with lectures, and then you do the live session. And a lot of people ask me, I'm a student, I'm really busy, I also juggle homeopathy with a day job, I can't commit to that. So in next month, I am launching the exact same course, but as a self-paced on-demand course. Nice. So I'm adding in extra content that we took from the live weeks, but because I love live and because I love this level of interaction, that course will have cosmic masterclass lessons every 2 months. So once you sign up, you will basically be able to come, and instead of doing like we did every week, Vanessa, where we did the week we learned, I will
Mhm.
take something like Mercury retrograde and we'll have a deep dive into it. So it doesn't
Mhm.
matter where you are in the course, you'll still be able to get something. So it keeps the live Q&A with me. So watch this space for the self-paced course, and then from in October, I'm doing the 12-week course. I'm going to call that now an intense focus study group. Some people just want to throw themselves like Vanessa did. We had the most amazing vibe in our group, didn't we? And if
Yes.
that's what you want, then, I'm offering that. And within the course, I teach self salts and Bach flowers. Okay, you'll get everything in the 12 weeks, and then I'm also going to be offering other courses for, let's just say, lay people. People who are not homeopaths. But really, this is my niche and my passion is where the two come together.
It's a beautiful niche and passion. And yes, very practical. And I learned so much in that time period. It was amazing, Liz. Yes, very amazing. So tell people your website just in case they don't know if they're listening.
Yeah, okay. So to be fair, if you Googled my name, Liz Norman and astrology, I will come up. My website is called Jupiter Rising. That's because I have the planet Jupiter on my rising sign. So I'm not lying. I do actually have Jupiter rising in my chart. So, but if you just put Liz astrology and homeopathy, I'll come up. And then the website, yeah, my website's got a course page, and I'll be launching the self-paced course next month.
That's
Yeah.
fantastic. It's such,
Yeah.
I mean, we'll put all this in the show notes. We highly encourage everyone to visit Liz's website, check out her courses, book a session, because I don't know how you cannot benefit from this. I mean, we need to be able to know what our design is. It's like we need to know why we're doing things. It's so validating. It's like de-shaming. There, it's an essential. I mean, it's as important as psychotherapy. Let's be honest. You can
Yeah,
gain so much more about understanding why you're wired the way you are.
yeah.
Mhm.
And actually, if you're not ready to commit to that and to do anything, head over to my Instagram page. I'll if there's something really pressing like a retrograde, I'll do a post on it. And every month I do a full moon chat with the wonderful healer Estelle Bingham,
They're
and
so great.
they
They're so
grow.
great.
Okay, what I love about the work that I do with Estelle is that we built a community around it, and so
Mhm.
we check in every month, and so it's more than just the full moon in Scorpio. We'll build and we'll learn, and what I love is she'll bring her own unique healing to that, and that of course is completely free because we do those chats once a month on Instagram. So that's a lovely way of easing yourself in if you just want to begin there.
Yeah, I've got a couple of those and they're fabulous. So yeah, yeah. All
So
right.
cool. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me on. I've really enjoyed chatting to you both.
Oh, pleasure
Thank
was
you,
ours.
Liz.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Liz.